Hey, what's up everyone? It's Flex and Joe back to review another day in the markets. So let's look at Monday, November 25th. So following the close of the week here on Friday, we can see that NQ had gapped up majorly overnight and it consolidated and moved sideways throughout the night. You can see where the session low was right here. We couldn't even come down to breach that, moved higher lows formed, huge push up into the open. It continues into the open. And before I zoom in, the CBC stays bullish from here all the way through until we make this high and then ultimately flip on the third candle of the day. So CBC is bullish going into the open. We have gapped up, looks like a gap and go type of scenario. You actually sit the first candle of the day right here, moved down pretty nasty to 56 before going back up to close at the highs another 100 points higher. So pretty nasty move down there, but it did reclaim and go back up. Obviously it has to do with this move here that began at 8:30. So there was some news at 8:30, not exactly sure what it was, but that caused a big spike up. And regardless, we came back down, tested it on both NQ and ES, which had both gapped up ultimately before flipping candle by candle back short and long on VIX. One thing that I think would have definitely make me have some caution is that the 920 candle prior to the open flips back long. If I go back down to the 1 minute here, what I want to show all of you is that there is a bit of a time gap here. The last candle here is at 925. So, and then the next candle here is, this one's at 931. So there's a little bit of a gap there in the timing. So the reason I bring that up is because in only 5 minutes, that candle, ignited the candle by candle flip indicator, right? So it showed you that there was a shift in who was in control. And that's why we had this gap up right here. Now this gap up obviously lends to this big move down. Now, once we have the candle by candle flip long on VIX, and we have a candle by candle flip short on NQ, we have candle by candle flip short on ES. So at 9:50 or at 10 o'clock when all candles are closed, we have bases loaded for the short, right? NQ is under its VWAP, ES is right on it. And VIX is making another run at trying to break through the 10-minute EMAs here. So it is basis loaded for the short, and it is, in my opinion, still a good short to take. Now you can see how NQ proceeds to chop around for a while here, but ultimately not able to make up any ground. It's not able to get past where these stuck buyers are trying to exit, and you get a really strong VWAP projection right around here. So VIX, same thing. While there's chopping, even though you had a flip back long, you did on both ES and VIX, you didn't have it. Sorry, ES and NQ, you didn't have a flip back short on VIX. In fact, you can see where it was holding what looked to be like a potential higher low, and needed some more confirmation. Didn't have confirmation. I'd be willing to bet that you probably did not also have bullish 2-minute EMAs. So let's go down there and look at that. So that was on. We said on the 1020 candle. So you do not have bullish 2-minute EMAs to help guide you. And so since you do not have bullish 2-minute EMAs and you do not have the bases loaded, you shouldn't flip back long after such a big move to the downside, right? So it does chop and then continue. You get a higher high here and then another higher low. Again, Wicks 2 and just below the belly button here, but still holding, and then it flips back long. So when you get the long flip back here, this is really where I stepped into a great trade. So now that I have VWAP rejection, and I have candle by candle flip short, ES making a new low. I also want to draw what I have marked on my other set. So just mark that. I'll have to make it a different color for NQ. So the red lines are that old gap from the 11:14 to 11:15 gap down. And so we have now filled that gap. with the move to the downside here, because if you remember a couple days prior, we broke over into that same golden zone right here. So coming back down to the 50% marker, really where those candle wicks would overlap in here. I would say, okay, if we just pushed out of here and never came back, I would say, okay, the gap is filled. But what I was concerned about is the Friday close here to Monday gap up, this purple set, and this is the red one here on ES. So when I saw what was obviously a bearish setup, bearish EMAs under VWAP, right? Buyers are not able to push it up. They're consolidating here for a while, and they're not able to make up any ground. This is over an hour, almost an hour and a half. I went short here. I was talking about being short. So I actually, even one of the things that I called out was that it looked like we were going to go for the true gap fill down here at 847. Now I call this the true gap fill because I know a lot of people will either mark the 415 close, which is how the daily candle without extended hours will look, or they'll just mark where the daily candle actually closed. So some people were thinking that because we closed the week up here that we had filled the gap here, and so that was not how I personally felt. I have been backtesting and studying it off of the 4 p.m. close, and so that's the one that I mark. This point in the day, right, with VIX, CBC long, we have bases loaded on the short. I was really looking for this to finally sell off, and maybe because the buyers were out to lunch, we would get that push down into the lows. So I was in short up here, and I scaled the majority of the trade out by the time we were here. I had one runner that I let it go a little bit longer, but had to close out to attend to something else. So good short trade, right? This was obviously a very good setup. You have the orb low here to base off of. You have the 10-minute 9. You have candle by candle short. You just have a lot to go off of. Everything is bearish. Everything is telling you short. VIX is telling you to short. ES is telling you to short. It worked out really well. Now there's a couple things that happened. So VIX filled its gap down. NQ filled its gap down. Once ES filled its gap down here at 1240, it was the last one to do so. Once ES gets the gap fill, if ES is king, we're now good to move back up. So moves back up into the golden zone, and you see it basing, reclaiming the 200 EMA, and just accumulating in through here, which makes me think that because the bears can't now push it lower, we're going to go back up, and we're at least going to test this high at 60.26, and we'll see if they do that on Tuesday, right? So similar thing here on NQ. Pushes down, comes back up, is holding here above the prior day's Friday's close, is accumulating here, again starts to push back up. It makes me think that we're going to go at least to the golden zone, sort of the middle area of these purple lines. I'm sorry, I know there's a lot of lines there, but middle area of that, and then ultimately if they can base there and push up, then we will go higher to test the open. All right, so that's it for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you all in the next one.